Hello, and welcome to another meeting at the Lotus Council. So what we've got today is I've got the deck I played in the pre-release at my LGS. So, if you haven't heard, we're doing a tournament in our Discord. It's going to be kind of fun. Basically, try and get your hands on a pre-release kit. You could use your pre-release kit that you used at your pre-release. But if you can't do that, you could just get 6 New Capenna booster packs, and we play games. And we'll go for 2 weeks. It'll open up fairly soon. Just join the Discord for the details. Winner has their choice of a New Capenna bundle or a Lotus Council playmat and some Lotus Council dice. So let's go through the deck. So I'm going to talk about some of the spells first. So Antagonize, basically making a creature bigger. Big score, really good for the card draw, as well as making Treasure to ramp. Fatal Grudge, basically making an opponent sack a creature versus killing. So it gets around like the shield counters and all that. And then you get a draw card. Not too bad for 2. Broken Wings, this is actually really good in New Capenna Limited. There are so many artifacts, so many enchantments, and so many creatures with flying. Grisly Sigil, that casualty clause is really good. So you basically sack a 1 power creature, hit something once, gain a life, and then hit something for 3 and gain a life if it's already been dealt non-combat damage this turn. Yeah, so basically you sack a creature and you gain 4 life and you potentially could kill something, which is pretty good and limited. So a lot of the creatures that'll hit. Incriminate, choose 2 target creatures controlled by the same player. That player sacks 1 of them. Really good. Riveter's Charm. Light them up. Again with that casualty. So you can basically 2, or maybe 4, depending on what you're doing. Prize Fight to basically fight. This one is really good, and I think it could see some popper play because it's creating a treasure as well. So, like, Rabid Bite and Ram Through and the other creatures fight are always 2, but this is really 1 because you're getting back 1 of any color. Really good. Okay, now let's go over the creatures. So, there are a lot of creatures with flying, so having something with reach is really great. And High Rise Sawjack is an excellent creature for this. So, it has reach, it's a 2/3, but whenever it blocks a creature with flying, gets +2/+0 till end of turn, so it becomes a 4/3. Not bad for 3. Tenacious Underdog is a fun one. It's got the Blitz mechanic, and I'll talk about the Blitz mechanic, but I am trying to sacrifice a lot of creatures. This one, I can recast it from my graveyard using the Blitz ability. So people really hesitant to kill this thing, to block it, and so they were taking 3 damage because they didn't want me to have the sacrifice stuff going on. All right, so we got Masked Bandits. Really great card. It's a 5/5 with Vigilance and Menace. It is really expensive, but it does have this 2 ability where you exile it from your hand. Target land basically becomes a Triumph that's not entering tapped. You're targeting a land that's already there. And then you can cast it at a later date when you have enough mana. So this is a really great way to fix your colors. I got 2 copies. One of these was in the seeded pack for the Riveters, but I pulled another one, so it was really great. Another ramp. So Jewel Thief is a 3/3 for, green and 2. Vigilance, Trample, and when it enters the battlefield, create a treasure token. So it's really 2 CMC for a 3/3 with Trample and Vigilance. So good. Then Jax's Troublemaker. So this was a fun one with a blitz of 2 sacrifice, and you can make a copy that is essentially you sack it at the end of the turn, but when it dies, you get a draw card. Really great in this deck. And the reason for that is I have 2 copies of Body Double. So whenever you sacrifice another creature, you put a +1/+1 counter on it. Also has the ability to initiate sacrifice by paying black and red, and it gets Menace till end of turn, which is really great if this thing's gotten bigger. And 2 copies means that I was getting it out pretty regularly. Mayhem Patrol, It's a 1/2 with menace, and when it attacks, target creature gets +1/+0 till end of turn. It does have a blitz cost of the CMC. Now, another thing that was really great is I got 3 copies of Corrupt Court Official. I cannot state enough how important this card was to basically my strategy. It is a 1/1, but for black and 1, I'm getting a 1/1 body that I can sacrifice later to feed, say, body dropper, or and in my other cards that require sacrificing. And when it enters, target opponent discards a card. So early on, getting that out, so very important to making the opponent's life miserable. So let's talk about the big bombs that I got. So Professional Facebreaker is fantastic. 2/3 with menace for red and 2. Whenever 1 or more creatures you control deal combat damage to a player, create a treasure token. So you just get that once per combat if something's able to do damage to a player. But that second clause, so you sacrifice a treasure, exile the top card of your library, and you can play that card this turn. I'll go over this, but that's a really, really important aspect. Then Urabask. Wow. 4/4 with haste and just... So basically what's happening is your opponent has to exile the top card of their library rather than that first draw step. They can play it that turn, but oftentimes I was finding my opponent didn't have the right color, so they were losing the cards. It does the same thing for you, except you also still get a draw. So it is in 5 action, so I had to keep looking up what it does, but really, really great card. And then this was probably the biggest MVP of my deck. A 6/4 for black and 2. It has menace, and whenever it attacks, the defending player can choose to have Shakedown Heavy, exit combat, and basically the cost for that is I get to draw a card. So I was drawing so many cards until finally people were just like realizing what this was doing. Because, I mean, there's only so many times you can take 6 damage, especially with something that's got menace, so you can't really easily block it. Really, really great card. And then this was another really fun one, Glittering Stockpile. It is a 3 CMC mana rock, but it has the added benefit that you're putting a stash counter on it each time you use it, and you can sacrifice it to add X mana of any one color, where X is the number of stash counters on it. Yeah, that turned out to be really, really super useful in just giving me a lot of mana late in the game where I can just pump out big creatures and really go to town. Okay, the mana base. So you do get a Riveter's Outlook in your seeded pack. At least I did. Really, really useful because comes in, you sacrifice immediately, you gain a life, and you go and find one of your 3 basics. Then I did use the Tramway Station for mana fixing. Never used the second ability. It was a little bit too expensive. Then I had, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mountains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 swamps, and 4 forests. So pretty straightforward, and just absolutely had a blast with that deck. So if you want to play in the pre-release that we're doing here, or the after release, I guess is the best way to put it, we're doing in the Lotus Council Discord, look for the join link below for our Discord. So we want to thank you for joining us today. If you're looking for cards, go check out our friends over at Geekified. You can find them at geekifiediowa.com. And we really do hope to see you at the next meeting. So go ahead and subscribe, hit that bell notification, join us in the Discord, which you should do if you want to play a little bit of Magic and maybe win a cool prize. So that's all we have for today. We want to thank you for joining us, and our meeting is now adjourned. We hope you have a fantastic day.